I'd ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the November 24th County Commission meeting. I'd remind you to silence your cell phones. The meeting documents are on the end of the counter and they're not there. We do have meeting documents. They're usually in a white folder on the end of the counter and they're being used in the front row right now if you need to see them. If you need a listening device, Robert is in the front at the table. He could help you with that. With that, we will go on to routine business. Item number 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 2 is approve the county commission meetings from November 17th, 2015. Is there a motion?
So move. Second.
Are there any corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 3 is bills to be paid in the amount of $556,542.09. Is there a motion?
Pay the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? No comments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4 is reports. Item A is a general fund surplus analysis as of September 30th, 2015. And we have a comment from the auditor's office, please. I asked Kim if she would just come up and just give us a little briefing on this report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Adamson from the Auditor's Office. This report is required by statute to be filed twice a year. This is the September 30th report. It's done on an accrual basis. It measures the level of unassigned fund balance that we have available, and by statute, we are not to exceed 40% of our budgeted appropriations in cash reserves. Our report shows a balance of 0.57%, which historically September is our all-time low because it precedes receiving the second half property tax revenue. And so it's at the lowest cash position we usually see during the fiscal year.
Just wanted Kim to make that point, as a lot of entities run with some type of a cash balance. The county runs with a 0.5 cash balance at our lowest point. Auditor Bob?
Madam Chair, I'd just also like to add that one of the outcomes of the summer county funding session in Pierre was that the Department of Legislative Audit is looking at recommending getting rid of this report. They don't think that it's worth a whole lot, and frankly, if you look at this report a month from now, the balance would be quite a bit different. And I think it was during the times when everybody was looking at fund balances where some entities in government had larger fund balances, it was an effort to curtail that, but the county doesn't have that problem. So next year at this time, or next spring, I guess, we may not have this report again.
Okay. But we're still aware that we don't have the extra money, so thank you, Kim. Item number 5 is personnel actions. Item A is consider a motion to approve the routine personnel actions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any questions for Carrie? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is application for abatement. There are none. Item number 7 is notices and requests. Item A is authorize the county auditor to publish notice to bidders for purchasing of an X-ray inspection system for the courthouse security.
Make a motion to authorize publication of that bid, or for bids.
Second.
Is there a second? Are there any questions on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 8 is planning and zoning notices. There are none. Item number 9 is petition for compromise of lien. Jeff Barth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today we have DPNO 22103 in the amount of $18,600. We've received the application. There's one lien in the name of a fellow. The lien was incurred originally in 1987, but had a small balance from 1994 until 2000, when several very large medical bills were incurred. party involved has passed away, and they're in the process of selling his home. Closing is scheduled for this afternoon, and assets are not going to cover all of the bills. Disbursement of the estate has already been initiated in probate court, and it will not be resolved by the time the sells. The applicant's person has suggested that we would compromise the lien with no payment on the $18,000. There are a number of issues here. Certainly, payments have been made over the years, but we've also compromised this lien in the past for $5,000 or so. We're also not the only lien holder. We may be the senior lien holder, but just going back to the partial compromise, it looks like in 2006 and 2011, there were partial compromises totaling about $5,000. I believe that a representative is here on this issue, and the process is that if they wish to speak, they can. They're not required to identify themselves. They can stay seated or stand where they're at. They don't have to come to the microphone. And I guess if they wish to address us, this would be the time.
And, the thing is, if you don't release them, we won't be able to sell the property. And they're technically taxpayers for the property. So, and the medical bills are, they're outstanding, there's so many different excess claims. So, I would ask that the commissioners release this, so we would be able to sell the property so that you would get something back, maybe, I don't know. It's gonna be after probate court, funds are dispersed. We're only going to clear about $63,000.
That's $63,000 that you'll clear with debts of over $200,000.
Robert?
From the commission office standpoint, I would just point out the complexity of this lien application as we've worked through it and worked with both the personal representatives and counsel for them as they are working through the disbursement process. And the clear message to us has been that heirs will not receive any proceeds from this sale. They are simply looking to get to the point where they can have the sale move forward, get it to a probate situation, and then have a court make the decision on disbursement. And counsel that has communicated with us is very confident that county would be in first position as that moves forward. I know Kirsten Kapmeyer has worked with that, has looked into this on working with the Register of Deeds. I don't know if he wants to say anything more than what I'm saying at this point, but I think we have looked at this very, very closely, and the information that is reflected in your memo is the situation as it is brought to our office.
And
Commissioner
Jeff,
Barth, did
looks
you
like-
want to, did you have something more to say, or?
go ahead.
I have a I have a question for Kirsten, because when I read through the information, it seems like there's a difference of opinion on whether or not there's a guarantee that the county is a first priority on this.
I'll opine generally on how this works. There's a certain priority that's set out by statute on the type of claims that are brought against the estate in probate court. My understanding is that all claims in our category would be considered at the same time, and I believe the way it's defined in statute is all claims that arise under state law. So our lien is a statutory lien, meaning it arises under state law. I do know that there are other claimants or at least one other claimant that arguably arise under state law, and that's some medical assistance that I think was provided by the state, and that will be a statutory lien too. So in my opinion, there's a little bit of uncertainty as to whether priority will be adhered to in paying that out from what the estate does have, or it's going to be pro rata paid to the claimants in that category. So in other words, all claimants in a certain category are paid, then if there's anything left, go to the next category, the next category, the next category. I think we're in category 3 under the statute, but I'd have to look at the statute in particular.
I can have a follow-up question though, but if in fact the county releases its lien on this property, does that send a signal to the court that we no longer have any liability that we're claiming?
No, I think it would remain against the person. I still think we have a claim that arises under state statute against the person. My question is just because we were first to file, doesn't necessarily mean we have clear priority for the entire debt, in my opinion. I think they're paid out of that same category based on who the claimants are. The other thing too is I believe the state's notice period, if you will, for claimants to bring a claim against the estate doesn't expire until December 10th. So really, I don't know if we're working under complete information at this point. And I don't know if it's something that they would be willing to wait until that period expired so we know who exactly the claimants are before we evaluated the request as well. I know that the closing that was scheduled before this afternoon, I believe the commission office reported that that's been postponed, but I don't know if there's a new date on that. Maybe the personal representative would know that. Okay, so.
Commissioner Kelly.
Before the closing, there's gonna have to be some of these that are like Wells Fargo would get paid before the closing, would they not, or would that come out of the proceeds? The second mortgage, did you refer to that in one of your letters? And then the DSS, would they have the same status as we do?
Arguably, yes, in my opinion.
So I don't understand, why we're giving up the only hope we have of collecting even half of it by taking it off the property, which is the only place, apparently is the only asset he's got. He'll have some cash at the closing, but I don't understand why we have to be the lone player. The timing on this thing, I believe we only got the information last week. And, in a situation like this, I just think that there's a lot of parties that have got to be brought to the table, and I'm not going to be the only one to give up, not give up everything we've got and let the others go.
Additional comments?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Barth?
I do believe that, with the closing originally scheduled for today, it did feel like we were being rushed too strongly there. And myself, I was thinking that, we should either get a significant amount towards this lien or else hold out for the full amount. But inasmuch as there's a few more days here till it's actually required for us to make the decision as you're moving towards this real estate action, I think we should defer action for a week and ask the applicants to come up with a offer. Otherwise, I think we would probably hold out for our full share, or certainly a very large part of our share.
We have a comment from the applicant.
Can you repeat what
She
she said,
said the
Robert?
state has released.
Did you get that, Dick?
No, I can't hear a
Okay,
word
the
she
state
says.
has already released their lien.
Okay, the DSS has?
Yes.
And that might have been after we checked with the Register of Deeds, because they would file a satisfaction of that lien, I believe, in the Register of Deeds. If that's the case, we can check on that, so.
But we only have one other than the AAA Collections that's released theirs.
Okay. So that would give us a little more time to see those come into the Register of Deeds office. Those satisfactions or releases come through a Register of Deeds against the property in our record, so we can check, we can verify that, and so in light of that, I guess I'd leave it up to the commission what they would like to do.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Brass?
you know, as council pointed out, the more claimants may still come forward, and we do have a little bit of time. So I'm going to make a motion to defer action till next week.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'd second that.
There's a second to that motion. Is there any other conversation?
I still got a
Commissioner
question,
Kelly.
Kirsten. In a situation like this, I assume with $211,000 in debts, or plus or minus, there's a lot of negotiation goes on prior to closing the estate out. Is that fair to say that all the parties have got to be talked to? Some have more priority in the liens than others, and
Essentially, you have to file a notice of your claim with the court. The court collects those. The court would prioritize those. There is some statutory provisions that allow for some compromise and negotiation. However, you know, there are some fairly clear rules about who takes priority or who gets paid out in different classes. So, you know, that can affect the party's willingness to negotiate depending on their status as well.
and we have little control over what the court, I mean, the court really has a lot of latitude in this or not?
They have to follow the law, but arguably, yeah, you know, the new information that the personal representative brought today may affect, you know, who's in each class, but I'm trying not to.
Right.
And,
So-
and if I may, I would just reiterate I believe the main point that the estate has brought to our office in applying for the application is just asking for the action so that the sale can move forward and this process can go forward. And certainly understand your desire or the mention of moving that forward, deferring it a week, but that was the main message to us, is that this, without this action, the title company would not allow that sale to move forward and in result, those disbursements to take place.
I have a motion and a second on the table to defer for 1 week. Are there any other comments? Do we want a roll call vote or not? Okay, roll call vote.
Barth,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Benninga,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Heiberger.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. We'll defer for 1 week. That will move on to opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to speak on something that is not on our agenda, if you would identify yourself and your issue, and would please limit your time. You just have to come to the microphone and identify yourself, please. Name and address.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lloyd Ringrose. I live right here in Sioux Falls. I would like to say that I've lived in this community for 20 years. And I would like to address the issue of petition circulators. I understand it's been a crazy summer. There was a group from out of state. A lot of them were behaving very badly. I know this because I dealt with some of them myself. I would only ask that those of us who live in the community and care about the community, who also circulate petitions, are not treated with a broad brush, like the bad apples. I would ask that petition circulators be treated as they behave. You know, if they behave well, they should be treated well. If they behave badly, then sanction them. And this has been an issue. We have 2 petitions we're trying to finish, and of course, the weather is getting, well, it's winter in South Dakota. Enough said. There is an issue with working in the interior atrium. My understanding is that inclement weather permits one person to work in the interior atrium. I would just ask that a little flexibility be injected into that policy. If it's raining or snowing or so windy that tables go blowing through parking lots, it is impossible for us to work. I just think some common sense dictates that some of those things should be considered inclement weather. Again, if we behave badly, then sanction us. If we behave well, I am very polite to everybody I talk to. I know my colleagues here are, and all the out-of-staters who are causing all these problems are gone. They all left town, and I'm glad, because I didn't care for them either. I ran into one guy who was an absolute psychopath about 2 weeks ago. I thought he was going to attack me. So I understand there have been people behaving badly. but I think I follow the rules. I think I'm polite. I know Ron and the other folks here who live in the community, do this respectfully. So I would just ask for some flexibility. In about 6 weeks, we will be done. And I would just ask for some flexibility until then. If the weather is intolerable, that we, one person be allowed to work in the atrium. That's all I ask. And again, if it's an issue of blocking the door, I'll make an even bolder suggestion. Why not put a permanent petitioner's table all the way inside? You can attach rules and regulations to it and monitor its use. Again, that's just an idea that I would throw out there. Any questions for me? Anybody?
Mr. Lloyd, could you give us your address? We
Oh,
need it
I'm
for the
sorry.
public. That's okay for the public record.
215 East 14th Street, Apartment B, right downtown here in Sioux Falls.
All right,
I've lived there since 2009.
thank you. We did review our policy, probably within the last 3 or 4 years, and we can look at that again and see where we're at with that. So,
Like I said, I would just ask for some flexibility. On last Thursday, the wind got so bad that my table went flying across the parking lot. And I tried to work in the atrium, and I was asked to step outside. It was literally impossible for me to work that day. The next day, it was snowing, and then I was allowed to stay in the atrium, which I appreciate very much. But I would just ask you to consider my idea of a permanent petitioner's table inside. Again, you can attach rules and regulations to it. And anyway, it's just an idea.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions for me?
thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Have a happy Thanksgiving and a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else that would like to speak in the public comment?
I have a question
Oh.
on what Lloyd's talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I have a question of Bob Litz, but it's on something that
Yeah,
you
no.
brought up.
Well, I have a comment for Bob Litz, too.
Oh.
Hi, Bob. Teresa Staley, 1621 South Van Ness Avenue. First of all, let me say that in terms of petitioning, as I think many of you know, I have been involved, a leader of many petition drives. I have not ever gotten paid a penny. It's been total volunteer work. In fact, I've spent my own money to help support these issues. So I am vehemently, passionately in support of anything that's going to help our citizens be involved. Remember, the citizens are not the enemy here. And we are all here to support government that will help the citizens. And I know we talked about this issue a few years ago, and we came up with a list of things on the door for people to follow, and we were allowed, when we did the petition drive for the snow gates, we were allowed to be inside one at a time when the weather was bad. And I want to say a word about Ken McFarland, because I felt personally that Ken, as the county administrator, was very supportive, kind, and helpful to us. And I would hope all the county commissioners would feel the same way, that even though you may not agree with our issue, you are supportive of the citizens being involved. Because the minute we stop being involved, we have a big problem on our hands in this government, in this country. So this is healthy for us to be here. Now, I've had conversations with some of you, and you have said, well, Teresa, we've got people from out of state coming in and they're being paid and da-da-da. And I said, well, we've got to take, just like what Lloyd said, you've got to take it all. We can't start to pick and choose which issues we're going to say or which people we will allow to petition. This is the sanctity of the whole thing for everyone. I would like, and I also want to say, you're elected right now. The time will come when you are not an elected official. You will become a citizen, and you may be called upon to participate in a petition drive sometime. Case in point, cell phone ban. I happen to be on the list of those people who supported that, and you've got some high-ranking citizens in Sioux Falls, and they have been pushed to the point they may need to do a petition drive because government was not open to what they had to say. I know the county commissioners did a petition drive a few years ago for liquor tax. Remember that, Jeff? Wasn't successful. They weren't able to pull it off. Ann Hyack was involved. Yes, they did, Cindy. So government, yeah, I mean, this whole thing works for all of us. We have to protect this. We have to do what we can to make it helpful to the citizens to do this, to participate. An issue that I talked with Bob Litz about, and Bob, maybe this has been addressed, remember our conversation on the phone? An issue I'm concerned about is, and I haven't been down here for a few years, but we were able to get 5 petitions notarized free a day, which to me, from that treasurer's office or his office, that is, which office is that, Bob?
Auditors.
Auditor's office. That is a service that I appreciate. I think every citizen in our community would say yes. 5 petitions notarized a day from those helpful employees is a good thing. Bob has started to charge, and it's $1 for 5 now? I say, he and I talked about, he said he would be willing to review that. I don't know where we've gone with it, but I'm still pushing on that, Bob, because I think we should go back to saying 5 free. Any more than that, do it another time. But I had volunteers down here, old women, elderly women, helping for snow gates. And they would get done standing in the cold. We'd be standing outside. And they would go in and get their signatures notarized right then. It was so wonderful. It was so good for the process. It was so kind. Such a good use of our tax dollar and use of employees' work time. So I'm here. I wasn't planning to say this today, Bob, but as long as I'm here, I'm saying it. I want all of you to know that. Let's back off of that and as a goodwill gesture and say, hey, we're going to give this to our citizens. Even if you got people coming and getting paid for this, again, you can't, it's going to be hard to say this and not that. Let's be fair to all. Amen.
Commissioner Kelly, you had a question for the auditor's office.
Question and a comment. Bob, someone from out of state, an out-of-state residents can come in here, circulate a petition, sign it as a circulator.
The person who took the petition out originally has to sign it, and then the circulator can sign it in the circulator.
When doing that, they attest that they witnessed the signature, correct?
That is correct.
So,
I
yeah, okay.
So
So out-of-stater, you have to be a resident of South Dakota to circulate a petition, is that correct?
I understand that was some contention, and by us doing the notary work, we're simply saying that that person is that person.
I know, but as the voting guru, it's up to
Well,
you to
that's-
validate the petitions, correct?
That's true, and that, I think when that question came up, there was some conversations from the Secretary of State's office, and it was never clearly answered for us. So we took the option of liberally construing that and signing them all and notarizing them all. I thought that
But the notarizing is simply witnessing the signature, is that not?
yes, and I didn't.
To do with a petition.
It really didn't, Mr. Kelly, and I was afraid that I'd be overstepping the bounds of my office if I went and questioned those things, and I thought that was a question better left to the Secretary of State's office. And if somebody else, a private party, had some questions about that or some assertions about that, they could do the challenge in court when the petitions were certified by the Secretary of State.
Well, and just a comment, I don't think our argument or our problems have occurred from the locals. Other than the fact that putting more than one person in that entryway really messes up the traffic flow. And I noticed this summer, and unfortunately, I chose to take the other door, which I'm sure a lot of employees did, but they were standing even outside in front. I assume these are the out-of-town guys, but if they're interfering with people coming into the courthouse, then we do have, or into the administration building, we do have a right to regulate that. I agree with what Teresa says. We've got to have the privilege of circulating, but when it comes to interfering with other things, I think we have some responsibilities there also. I'm really concerned about this out-of-state deal because I think we're going to see more and more and more of it, particularly as the marijuana push keeps coming. And I think we need to get clarification on, can out-of-staters come in and circulate a petition and sign it? Or can somebody else sign for them, and then are they in violation of the law?
Any other public comments?
Pam Nelson, the Minnehaha County Treasurer, and I've been involved in circulating petitions in South Dakota for 50 years, and I'm mostly in support 100% of people initiative and referendum. I think it's made our country what it is today, and I think it's a very important part. But I think you have to balance that issue along with the congestion in the doorway and in the hallways when you go there. And it's a definite problem. And I have people complain to me all summer long because of the inconvenience they have. It's too crowded. There's just not enough room to get in and out. People have little children. They're carrying babies in little car seat things, and it's not very good. It's too congested to have people standing in that hallway. And I think you have to balance everybody else's rights with their right to circulate that petition. So I did happen to be one of the people who went and got Corey Brown to kill his bill, which would have probably made getting things on the ballot, if not impossible, much more difficult. And fortunately, we were very capable of getting that done, and it's dead for like this year. But I am very concerned, and my customers complain all the time about being bothered by these people in the hall. And it's getting bad. I ran into one guy who's sleeping in his car in our parking lot, and I don't know why the police never noticed this, but so he could be the first one and get his table there first, so they have, and that's just not appropriate. Now they got tables sitting out there, they got lawn chairs. I think it's out of hand, and my customers don't like it. So I hope you keep their rights in mind too when you make that decision. I support 100% initiative and referendum. I'm all for, in fact, South Dakota would be quite a different place if we hadn't had that process. For example, two good examples. We'd be importing nuclear waste and importing garbage. So it has a place. It's very important part of democracy, but people also have a right to come in this building. They're taxpayers. They're forced to do business here, so they have rights too. So that's my comment for today.
Madam
you,
Chair,
Pam.
can I ask Pam? Pam, were the problems that your customers talked about the congestion outside, or in the foyer, or inside the building?
Well,
Because
most
outside
recently,
there'd be
it's not
6-7
been.
people.
They haven't been so. The big problem is when they're inside the doorway, but they're complaining about the fact that there's too many of them. They're right there all the time, and they have tables, and it's just. I don't know, they think it causes congestion. And if they move farther off to the, not right by the door, but their tables and stuff are right by the door, so they still are interfering. And then they're lined up. Sometimes this summer, they were lined up 3 or 4 of them in a row on each side of the sidewalk, and you just couldn't get away from these people. And so, if they voluntarily want to do it, I think they need to move farther away so that they're not blocking the doorway and people can deal with them if they want to or if they don't want to. And it doesn't take a few seconds to sign that petition. It takes a while. And so it's not something you do really fast and you're gone. You're there for a while, and it causes more congestion. So it's a huge issue, the congestion part of it. And hopefully you guys will be fair and consider their rights too.
Okay, thank you, Pam. If there's any other public comment? Oh, we have one more.
Sure.
Bruce, just give your name and address, please.
Bruce Danielson, 6704 West 9th, Sioux Falls. I've just passed out and I'm sorry I didn't have enough. I didn't realize there were going to be so many sitting at the front here, but they're what I've handed out because I was involved in the discussions with Ken McFarland back when we were discussing the policy, and so what I did back a while ago was compile kind of a little history of it, so I kind of, as I've shown in the past, kind of do these little debriefing documents to kind of remind me of all the little intricacies that we went through. And on the first part of the petition, or this form I just handed out, Robert, can this be put on the overhead so everybody can see it? Is that right? I just gave a little background on what I try to tell people to do when they come down, when I advise people on the petition process, is these items on here, and there's about 10 of them that I want to make sure that people are polite. I mean, this is a really big issue, is the politeness. Don't block the entrance. These are the deals that we made with Ken McFarland to make sure that we were protected as petitioners. I was involved in the collecting of the 27,000 signatures that were collected during the city election in 2014. I haven't been collecting petition signatures as long as Pam Nelson, but almost. And I really feel these things are really important for everybody. And so I wanted to make sure we weren't forgotten. The people were, I apologize. So what I've included in this packet is my recommendations when people come down here. The table thing, that blows me away. I've never seen people actually set up tables down here at the admin building. I think that if there's anything at all, that's obstructing. And one of the things that in our policy that we worked out with Ken McFarland, we couldn't impede people coming in the door. And the table thing is, I think that's wrong. They put out these big 8-foot tables and stuff when I was coming down here, and that I didn't agree with. But you have to make sure you help the people in and out of the doors. You want to make sure that people can get in and out. But one of the big things that we pressed with, because we, like what Teresa was saying, we had some older people that were involved and people who couldn't take even the heat. So there were times when they needed to go inside the building to either cool off or warm up. And we got it understood that there's inclement weather for every individual. And so that was kind of left ambiguous, that it wasn't just when the wind was blowing 80 miles an hour, or it wasn't just when we had a snowstorm or a rainstorm. It was inclement weather is what that person couldn't handle. But if you had to go in the foyer, the vestibule, then stand to the side, clear out of the way, help people open the door, close the door, whatever was necessary, but don't be in the way and don't slow down anybody trying to come in and do work in the administration building. So I wanted to give you this background history, and the policy is right there in front of you in the third page. And I just wanted to let everybody know what we went through in that process and that we want to keep it open. I firmly believe in the process, as I've come here and talked about in the past, and would just like to see it left open. These people, I'm not involved with their petition drives right now, but they really need to be able to come in. And now that we're going to be done by January 4th, so please keep the policy in place. If you're going to do anything at all, then go down and regulate the tables and the pushing of people out of the process. Everybody has a right to petition their government, and that's what they're trying to do here. So I want to thank you for your time, and
Thank you,
if anybody
Bruce.
wants this one, they may have it.
We might need an extra copy up here. I don't think we got quite enough copies. That'd be great, Bruce. Thank you. Yeah, just putting it up here, that'd be fine. Is there any other public comment? With that, we will move on to our regular business. Item number 10.
There was one more.
Oh, there was one more?
Yeah, from Sioux Valley, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That was your opportunity. I just about missed you, yeah. And one more public comment. If you give your name and your address.
Paul Mantz. I live 3300 East Brewster Street, Sioux Falls. And thank you for having me, commissioners. I appreciate your time. I just wanted to stop by briefly today to introduce myself. I'm relatively new to my position with Sioux Valley Energy, where I'm going to be working on community relations and economic development. As you might know, Sioux Valley Energy serves Minnehaha County. We also serve, as you can see in the folder I provided you, other counties in South Dakota, including Kingsbury, Brookings, Lake, Moody, and then Pipestone and Rock County in Minnesota. So the reason I wanted to come was just to introduce myself as a resource for any development questions you might have in Sioux Valley Energy territory in Minnehaha. And I also wanted to make mention of a few development programs we have. There's brochures in your packets there. The first one is called Operation Roundup. This is a program where you're good?
You're okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Fixing the
Okay,
computer.
this is a program where members' bills are voluntarily rounded up and the proceeds are donated. And this is a program where the money goes towards community service programs and things like that. Examples of it are fire departments, educational opportunities, and other community projects. So far, we've donated over 1.25 million. So that's just a program to keep in mind if you come across anyone looking for funding for any community development programs. Second is the READ Fund, which stands for the Rural Electric Economic Development Fund. This program provides financing to businesses and communities with no interest financing, and it's administered with our G&T electric co-op in Madison called East River Electric. So, in closing, I just want to say Sioux Valley has a strong interest in the continued success of Minnehaha County. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Hopefully look forward to working with Menu, and I included my business card in the folder there.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Any comments?
Any questions for me?
I actually live in your electric district, and I have very good service, so thank you very much.
Glad to hear
All
that.
right. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. With that, if there's no more public comment, we will go on to routine business. Item number 10 is authorize the chairman to sign the 2016 coroner medical examiner agreement between Minnehaha County Dr. Kenneth Snell, Sanford Hospital Pathology Clinic. Robert Wilson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Wilson with the Commission Office. Before you today is the 2016 contract for coroner and medical examiner services. This is very similar to the agreement we've had in past years, and just to briefly describe, we'll point out that Dr. Kenneth Snell, our coroner and medical examiner, is here this morning, so I will be very brief and turn it over to him for any questions or comments you might have for him. Briefly, the contract is divided into two parts. There is the part for the coroner duties that are paid at $6,000 per month. That is the same rate for 2016 as it is currently. That is split between Dr. Snell and his associates, and then there is an additional amount of $17,844.08 for the medical examiner services. And that amount is up slightly from the current year. Current year 2015, $17,262. In addition, services, additional fees, the cost of fees, cell phones, lab fees, other associated fees are down from last year. The current for 2016, that amount will be $45,450, down from $53,550 from last year. Again, this is a very similar contract to what you have had for a number of years with Dr. Snell and Sanford Pathology, and I will turn it over to Dr. Snell for any comments, unless you have any questions for me first.
Questions for Robert? Okay. Thank you.
Not to put you on the spot, but if you had any comments for the commission.
Good morning, Dr. Snell.
Good morning, Commissioners. We've just had a real busy year this year. We've already surpassed last year number-wise for this year, and we still have roughly a month and a half left in this year. We do run into problems on occasions filling our cooler. We can only store 5, and we've had probably a dozen times this year we've had to outsource. Just so you know, that does add to our budget. Every time we have to put one outside, we have to store that at a different location. We have to pay for that. So that is an issue that if it becomes regular, the commission and myself may have to meet with the hospital to try to enlarge that cooler space. We did have the incident in Platt, which we cooperated with that institution. Our trailer was going to be used in that. However, we realized that we don't have a mobile x-ray unit, which precluded us from being able to do that. So that was a county resource that was going to be deployed that we did not deploy. Had we had that unit, we would have deployed that. So there's some stuff there. The only thing really about the budget is that after we submitted the budget and it was approved, our toxicology company raised its rate. Fortunately, they did offer us an alternative, which helps us keep the cost down. So when we can, we use the alternative. So we're hoping that we can keep that toxicology cost down and not go into overruns. in toxicology-wise for 16. That right now is the only thing we see of a concern for 16 that was after, unfortunately, we had submitted our budget. So,
Okay. Any questions for Dr.
Questions?
Snell? Did we approve the x-ray machine that you guys were needing for that recently, or is that something that we still need for?
well, no, that's something that we have not positioned. We actually are going to look at potentially going, because I've got support at the state level, and from the Attorney General and from DCI. So we're going to look about going at the state level and at the federal level to get the funding for that unit. The unit you're thinking of was the dental x-ray unit, which is very vital. That is a separate unit. But this is a bigger unit that allows us to x-ray the whole body instead of just the teeth. But we really haven't approached you guys because we're hoping we can get that at the state and federal level for that funding,
Well, that would be great.
because it's a expensive piece of machine, so. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Kelly?
Is the reason, Doctor, that we don't have enough storage space because of outside Minnehaha County? Is that affecting our capacity, what's
It-
brought in from outside?
It does on occasions, yes, sir. There are occasions where that does. We've had cases, though, where we're filled from inside. You have to remember, though, that cooler is also the hospital cooler. So if the hospital sends down 3 decedents, and I had 3 here in the county, I'm over, because I can only store 5.
So
So it's
perhaps
not
would be the-
dedicated to the county, it's hospital and county, and then the hospital brings in from outside as well. We try real hard that if we have to store outside the hospital, we store the out-of-county ones, not our own county. Most of the time, we're pretty successful at that.
So it's more of a hospital problem than it is a county problem?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bennett, did you have a comment?
Yes, ma'am. So the toxicology issue that you alluded to earlier, that's the lab fees that we pay for extra?
ma'am.
Is that, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we try real hard, and law enforcement's good with me. If we're looking strictly at drugs of abuse, we have a panel just for that. If we're looking at that, plus possibly a lot of prescription drugs, that's the panel that went up on us. And that panel went up a little over $100. So we have really tried to gear our investigations and everything. If we can say this is definitely drugs of abuse, the top 25 drugs that are being abused in the system right now, if we think that's what it is, we go with that panel, saving us that money. And as long as we can do that, we should keep our lab costs down.
So that's the alternative you alluded to earlier that
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Doctor, I'm so very glad that we have you in our community, and I hope you don't have any work going forward. But, you know, one of the things, I guess, is your specialty is in great demand, and again, that's part of why I'm thinking about us being lucky to have you. Do you think that, considering our issues with psychological evaluations for prisoners and stuff, that hiring a psychiatrist to be working for our county here in Sioux Falls would be feasible, knowing what you do about the medical stuff?
Well, I can tell you that, you know, from what little I know about that, I think it would be helpful. We do see on occasions people that have psychiatric problems that end up in our facility. And I think if we could find a way to help those individuals, that it would potentially reduce those type cases that make it to my level. You know, I'm assuming they're as short-staffed as we are. As you know, the federal government has often said there should be about 1,000 forensic pathologists, and there's just under 500 of us in the U.S. And so we're short-staffed across the country, and I'm sure that they are as well. Part of the problem again is how do you make it worthwhile, and worthwhile to come to areas. You know, we're in a situation where there's only 2 forensic pathologists in the state. Whenever one of us is out, we have to send stuff out, which creates a challenge for us. And so I'm sure they're faced with the same situation.
Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Snell, thank you again for coming to South Dakota and leaving your warm state for our cold state. And Dr. Snell interviewed in January on a very, very, very cold week, and he still came. So thank you very much for being here and continuing your work with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there an IT person in the room? I'm
Yeah,
having
we
a
have
problem
Trish.
here. I can't see anybody, but
Okay. I would look for a motion to authorize the signing of this chairman.
That's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the chairman to sign that contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 11 is a public hearing to consider proposed revisions to the 1990 revised zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County to rezone from A1 Agricultural District to the Waterways Meadows Planning Development District, description legally described as Track 1 of the Prebes Edition, South 1/2, Northeast 1/4, Section 7, Township 102 North, Range 49 West of the 5th PM, I'm not sure, PM in Minnehaha County. Scott, good morning.
Yes, Scott Anderson, County Planning. This is a public hearing on a rezoning request to rezone 10 acres from A1 Agriculture to a planned development to be called Waterway Meadows Planned Development. The property is located at 25723 Haystack Place, which is approximately a 1.5 miles north of the Renberg School. I think most of us are familiar with that. This item is to rezone the property, the 10-acre parcel, to allow an accessory building as the principal use on that property. This request has been before you one other time, and at that meeting back in October, it was referred back to the Planning Commission. On October 26th, it went before the Planning Commission, and they recommended unanimously to approve the rezoning request. And the applicant is here. I've provided you a copy of the minutes as well. I'll quickly go through a PowerPoint presentation that I have. This is the location of the subject property. You can see that there is a residential development to the east and to the south of the proposed property. This is the existing accessory structure that we have been talking about in the past. This accessory structure is really a horse barn and some storage within for the horses in this barn. This is the property that's directly across the street. It's a residential house. This is looking north. This is looking to the southwest, or sorry, southeast. This is looking directly south on Haystack. This is the front of the building. You can see there's a sliding door. There's an entry door that goes in the side. The stalls face the south for the horses to get in and out of the weather. This is just generally the property is pasture for the horses. This is the property as well. Another view of the backside of that building. And I believe that's all. I'll go back to the overall this picture. As I indicated, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this rezoning request. Today is a public hearing. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Today I'd ask that you take some kind of action on this, either approve the rezoning, which would follow the Planning Commission's recommendation, or you could take other action you so desire, like denial or continuation for some reason, if that's what you wanted. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Okay, is there any questions for Scott? Commissioner Kelly?
Scott, what does the PD do that a conditional use permit wouldn't do?
Well, a conditional use permit, first of all, you have to have a specific use that you can apply for as a conditional use permit. And allowing an accessory use as a principal use isn't an identified or a listed conditional use permit. So a conditional use permit would not be applicable for this specific
I know.
Circumstance or whatever.
But what, other than having this barn there, and if it burned down, being able to build a new one, do they have any ability to do anything else with that property?
It's primarily, the use is the barn, the accessory building as the principal use. Now, there is a set of criteria that is before you, and one of those criteria would allow for a final development plan. For example, number 6. The 6th condition would be that prior to any future additions or any modifications to that barn, a final development plan has to be presented to the Planning Commission for approval. That would allow some general modifications, or if they wanted to do some kind of an expansion within reason for that barn, there is that ability and that potential. They would have to bring it back before the Planning Commission, and there would be a public hearing, so the neighborhood is involved in that request.
With the ability to build a house there?
No, that would not be allowed. If you look at condition number 1, the permitted uses, it says that the buildings and premises shall be permitted for the following purposes, and it's the existing barn as a principal use. It's not identified as, the conditions do not identify a residential use as being permitted within that planned development.
Additional questions for Scott? Okay, this is a public hearing. Does the proponent want to speak at all? Is there any opponents to this? Okay, back to the commission. Is there a motion or a comment?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Finally.
Item number 12 is consider a resolution to delete bridge structure number 50-095-125. It's 8.7 miles south and a half a mile west of Colton from the National Bridge Inventory System. DJ Boothie, good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. This structure here is on Vandemark Road, just north of Hartford. And if you remember, I think it was 3 years ago, we entered into an agreement with HDR Engineering for the replacement, for the design of the replacement of this structure. We then heard back from the township that they wished not to replace it, and we were very happy to hear that, because it is at the end of a gravel road and the beginning of a dirt road in the middle of a section, but right at this bridge it transitions from a gravel road or low travel gravel road into a dirt road. It's currently posted for a 3-ton gross weight limit and is in poor condition. The bridge itself, it's a pony truss type bridge. You can see a little bit on the side there how the truss actually comes up above grade, and that's a pony truss type bridge. It's fracture critical, which means that it has members on it, which if they fail, it's likely to cause failure of the entire structure. And like I said, it's posted at 3 tons. The federal sufficiency rating is 27.2, and so it is time to act on this bridge, whether we replace it or we remove it. We have contacted Hartford Township, and they have provided to us minutes from a meeting a couple weeks ago that they made a motion to agree that this bridge should be removed without being replaced. And then subsequently we contacted the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the State Historic Preservation Office, verifying that we did not need to receive any further permits for environmental impacts or historical structure impacts. So we got the clear on those three, from those 3 stakeholders, and now we are requesting your approval to remove it from our system, and we would like to remove it physically from its current location and declare it surplus and take it to the scrapyard.
Any questions for DJ on this bridge? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to delete the bridge from the National Registry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 13 is.
Commissioner Heiberger?
Yes,
The motion hopefully was not to remove it from the National Bridge Registry.
but to remove the whole bridge.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not a historic registry, it's the National Bridge Information System.
Okay. So we're removing the bridge.
Yes.
Number 13 is consider a motion to approve change order number 1 for an increase in the amount of $14,130.50 to the contract with Dakota Contracting Corporation for project number MC126BR-14, reconstruction of the structure 50-143-120, 2 miles northwest of Crooks.
Commissioners, earlier this summer, we took out a 2 box culverts or a box culvert and a bridge and replaced it with a single bridge structure. Banner Associates completed the design, and Dakota Contracting completed the construction. The project is closed out and finalized and awaiting final payment. In order to process the final payment, we need to execute this final change order to balance out the final quantities. And it does have an increase of just over $14,000 as stated, primarily due to increased unclassified excavation during the removals. If you have any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, look for your approval on the change order.
Questions for DJ?
Motion to approve that change order.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 14 is consider revised resolution for the set weight load limits on certain Minnehaha County highways, bridges as recommended by the 2014, updated to reflect the SHV load capacity, South Dakota Department of Transportation Bridge Inspection Report. DJ Boothby.
Commissioners, a couple weeks ago, we passed a resolution updating all of our bridge limits, load limits. This time, we're doing the exact same thing, except for we have completed maintenance on a structure just north of Lyons on County Highway 114, and that maintenance allows us to remove the bridge load limit on that structure. And in addition to that, the agenda item, I think number 11, 2 agenda items prior to this, where we are going to be removing the structure just north of Hartford, will also require us to remove the weight load limit that was on that structure to get it off the books.
Okay.
And so we have an updated resolution with all of those taken into account, and we look for your approval.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to revise the weight limits on the bridges.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for working on that bridge on, I think it was County Road 142. It was important to the businesses in that area when that was posted with the load limit. So we were happy to rectify that problem in a big hurry so that they could get back to work. So thank you.
We hopefully will be replacing that in 2016 or 2017. It's in
Okay.
tough shape.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Item number 15 is authorize the chairman to sign the 2016 lease agreement between the Minnehaha County and the Sioux Valley Genealogical Society and Minnehaha County's Historical Society for office space in the Old Courthouse Museum. Bill Hoskins.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Hoskins, Director of the Siouxland Heritage Museums. This morning, there are 2 separate lease agreements, one with the Sioux Valley Genealogical Society for office space on the 2nd floor of the Old Courthouse Museum. The other is for the Minnehaha County Historical Society for a small office on the 1st floor of the Old Courthouse Museum. Both organizations have officed in the Old Courthouse Museum for over 40 years. Since 2001, we have been doing annual contracts. The space is provided to them free, and the lease agreements do require a unanimous vote of the commission.
Any questions for Bill? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve both agreements with Sioux Valley, the Sioux Valley Genealogical Center and the Historical Society. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 is consider a motion to declare certain mobile home distress warrants for unpaid property taxes as uncollectible. Good morning, Pam. Again.
We do this once a year. It doesn't mean, although you're declaring them uncollectible, they're still there, we're still able to collect our money when they dispose of the property. Just means that the sheriff's office doesn't have to go out and serve them all the time. So
Any questions for Pam on this?
it's
Commissioner?
about $45,000 this year.
Madam Chair,
922.
Pam, there's one there for $37,000. How does a mobile home wind up owing us $37,000?
The same way any property would?
Well, the average one seems to owe about $200 a year, so has this been since 1900 or?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
Would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to declare unpaid property taxes uncollectible on mobile homes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 17 is consider a resolution to support the call to action and stepping up initiatives. Carol Moore. Thank you, Pam.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Muller, Commission Administrative Officer. Yes, we are excited to bring forward to you a proposed resolution on stepping up and on the Stepping Up initiative. And we invite you to support this particular initiative. Stepping Up is a national call to action, encouraging counties and jails to work with state and local agencies and stakeholders on an actionable plan. There are 6 steps to that, which has been detailed out in the memo. To summarize those, it talks about bringing the community together and looking at opportunities and plans and measurable outcomes to work towards reducing the number of people in jail with mental illness. Stepping Up is led by the National Association of Counties, NACO, the Council of State Governments, Justice Center, and the American Psychiatric Foundation. To date, 152 counties throughout the country have passed the Stepping Up initiative. Commissioners Heiberger and Commissioner Bender, both of you attended the NACO conference, and I know that you were excited to hear the things that you heard at NACO about the Stepping Up initiative. Stepping Up will be an excellent tool for dialogue and action towards reducing the number of people with mental illness in jails. 2 weeks ago, Carrie Benz, who's Director for Human Services, and Sheriff Milstead and I all attended the National Dialogue on Behavioral Health in New Orleans regarding the criminalization of people with mental illness, and had a chance to learn more about the Stepping Up initiative also. A couple things that are following this is, one, we are taking the steps to apply to become one of the communities to send a team to Washington next year for the Stepping Up initiative. We are also applying for something called SIM, which I had never heard of before I went to the meeting in New Orleans, which stands for Sequential Intercept Mapping for Early Diversion. And basically it's a fancy word for saying what are the points of where we can touch and make a difference as part of this process. So we're currently bringing our parties together, our interested cooperative agencies such as law enforcement and courts, and we're having those discussions at this particular time to build their support as we apply for that. If we are accepted as a mapping community, an SIM mapping community. And by the way, you can Google that, and actually comes up and talks about this being done by SAMHSA. SAMHSA will bring a group of people to Sioux Falls for a day and a half, and we would put 40 stakeholders together and continue to have this conversation and planning. So with that, I would ask for your support and passing of this resolution.
Questions for Carol on Stepping Up? Commissioner Kelly?
Carol, are we going to coordinate with Justice Gilbertson on, I mean, he's going along a parallel line on this thing, is he not?
Yes. What I wanted,
Communication with him to let him know.
yeah, what I've started doing is drafting a letter for Commissioner Heiberger that the county could send in, and is certainly indicating their support, and if there's any resources we can bring to the table, and wanting to share that we are doing the Stepping Up initiative and doing the applications, that we all have a vested interest in success.
Any other comments? Commissioner Barth?
Madam Chair, thank you. It does seem like there's a confluence of events and stuff that are coming in a positive way to make some change here. And, you know, I think people that are informed have been kind of mumbling about this for perhaps years. And now, you know, with the help of the Argus leader and others, it's coming to the forefront. And it looks like, you know, with NACO and the national interest in this serious issue, that things are coming together in a way that we can make a positive impact here in Minnehaha County. I'm thrilled.
Are there any other questions or comments? Look for support on this resolution. Is there
Make a motion to support the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Carol, for bringing that forward. Item number 18 is consider a motion to approve the 2016 Minnehaha County Liquor License Renewal Applications. Bob Litz.
Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. This is an annual routine item that we do every year. We've received the 2016 wine and license renewal applications. There have been no complaints from the state's attorney, planning, sheriff's offices, or anybody else. The applicants' names, I'm going to list them in the type of license here, is the Alibi, it's retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. The Baltic Corner, retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. Bottoms Up, retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. Chasers Food and Spirits, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. the Monarch Lounge and the Monarch Package Store, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales and package off-sale liquor. Norby's Rocky Run, retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. Old 77 Bar and Grill, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. The Red Rock Bar and Casino, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. River Ridge Golf Club, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. The Riviera by Rocco's, which is retail on-off-sale wine and Sunday sales. The Safari Bar and Grill, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. The Sioux Empire Fair, which is retail on-sale liquor and Sunday sales. And last, Wildwater West Water Park, retail on-sale wine and Sunday sales. Commission action requested today is to approve the 2016 liquor and wine renewal applications.
Are there any questions for Bob on this? Commissioner Barth?
Bob, so places that just have beer, they're not on this list, right? That's a separate approval?
Yes, yes, that's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
A motion to approve the 2016 Minnehaha County Liquor and License Renewal Applications. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 19 is consider the following motions to supplement. Kim, item number A, from the general fund to the auditor's election budget, ASN 15189, electronic equipment. Did you want to read these? You want me, I mean, I can read them. $109,187.50 representing reimbursement from the state of South Dakota HAVA funds for the cost of the DS850 tabulation machine purchased. I don't know if I'm stealing all your thunder.
It's all right.
Are there-
The second item also is for the auditor election budget. It's reimbursement from Marshall County for the sale of a DS650 tabulating machine. And the third item to the public defender budget, salaries of $12,000 from the University of Oregon for the Gideon grant position. This is the first half of 2 payments that we will receive for that position.
Kim, can we do these in one motion, or do they need to be 3 separate motions? One motion will be sufficient? Okay, are there any questions, and Kim, on these supplement motions?
I'll make that the motion to do these supplements, A, B, and C.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve all 3 of these supplements. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 20 is consider a resolution to rescind and repeal Resolution MC 1560 and the correct resolution language deferred from November 17th, 2015. Robert Wilson.
Morning, Commissioners. Robert Wilson of the Commission Office. About 2 months ago, you approved 3 resolutions formalizing payment plans between Minnehaha County and former property owners of record who owed back real estate taxes. Recently, we were going back and looking at those resolutions, putting dates into calendars so we could follow up appropriately as some of those payment dates approached, and realized that in one of the resolutions, the third whereas referred to the wrong property tax ID number. So we are bringing a cleanup item here for you, asking you to rescind and repeal Resolution MC 50-16 and approve the revised resolution.
Okay. Any questions for Robert on this?
Make a motion to rescind and readopt this as Robert suggested.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Robert. Item number 21 is Commission Liaison Reports. Are there any reports? Commissioner Barth?
Commissioner Kelly and I attended the Southeast District meeting in Tyndall, and we did have a discussion about regional psychiatric care, much as with our regional medical examiner possibilities
Okay.
amongst the commissioners.
Thank you. Any other reports? Item number 22 is new business. Is there any new business? 23 is old business. Is there any old business?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Barth?
I don't know if everyone has seen it, but Jackson County is attempting to settle their lawsuit, which was attempting to prevent a satellite voting center to be set up. And this is after months and months of litigation and months and months of attorney fees being paid out of our assurance fund to Sarah Frankenstein representing Jackson County. instead of working to resolve it, which could be done for free, they chose to litigate it, and now they're acquiescing to most of the demands that the Native Americans had. And this was always available for HAVA funds to come from the Secretary of State to set this up, and so this deferral just ran up the legal costs, depleting our assurance funds, and certainly stuffing that money into the pocket of an attorney.
Any other old business? Commissioner Kelly.
Well, it's regarding something we talked about earlier, but I would like to ask the auditor's office to give us a opinion on the ability of out-of-staters to circulate signed petitions.
Thank you.
You know,
You can-
may I?
Not today,
Well,
I'm
later,
not
not
saying
now,
today.
later,
Yes,
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 yeah, not now. So an opinion on out-of-state petition collectors
On the question, yes.
on the question. Okay. Any other old business? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel.
Move to adjourn into
Second.
personnel.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.